How is it possible that we hear nothing about Kyrie Irving being an asshole? Nothing. He's not distributing copies of Mein Kampf courtside anymore. Wearing like a Das Boot shirt. Fucking asshole of a human being. But, Jesus.
Someone got to him, like either age. I'm sure he has kids by now. Being an adult, whatever has got something happened because it's night and day. Like it's so funny. People are trying to compliment him, and I wanted to criticize him, and then I thought, I'm like, wait, that's true. I haven't heard anything. I didn't know he was still playing, so he must be quiet.
He's as quiet and respectful as Mike Conley would be.
Yes.
Right? A guy that never has been immersed in any controversy in his lifetime, going all the way back to his days at Ohio State.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
All right, very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here, the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest. We got Mike Lubie Lubitz. We're trying, and we're not sure exactly. Lubie would be more aware of this than I would, of the status of one Dave Gurggles Gergely, because of some juxtapositions that we had to do. We were going to feature Dave and the Trivia Challenge right here at the top of the show. And then, of course, Tony wasn't able to be with us yesterday with his old school, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. So we'll have Tony Segreto coming on with us today right around 8:30. We were trying to squeeze in a quick version of the Trivia Challenge here at the top. However, technical difficulties. What are they doing over there at
I don't know.
Miami Lakes? But up at the internet service over
What's
there.
wrong with our internet? Like he said it was slow, which, okay.
Yeah.
We have slow, but we still get on. He couldn't get on. Then he's like, okay, text me the link. And I'm like, oh, I don't think that's going to be the dream.
Yeah, the telephone might be.
He can do it. Well, we can.
I mean, it might even be below our technical standards, which are not very high.
You can get it done on the phone, but it's hit or miss. It's hinky, as we've seen with Reno.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like trying to do 30 minutes and host, like
30 minutes on the cell phone doing video, probably a negative. I guess people do it, right? Because people do the FaceTime calls.
Look, Mayo's going to join us Friday, because I don't want to come up with that Fakakta contest, and I don't think you do either. So, but we don't want to not be at the stream. We love being at the stream, and Joe Beja's back in town. So we're going to be there. He's going to join us, and it's easy for him to do phone. First, we tested it. It still was hinky. I'm sure it'll be hinky, and it's what it is. Like, but it's not, I mean, it's not the goal.
Probably not the best. If you had a chance, say you had to make an executive decision, you would say scratch the telephone video version and hope that this thing works out. Now, are we at the stage where we're still trying to work this out?
Yeah. I mean,
okay. All right. So
we can do a couple guys. I just like to get some trivia in, with Gurggles.
Okay. All right. So what's the call then, Lubie?
We're going to talk sports until Gurggles pops up or doesn't. We'll give it another 10 minutes.
Okay. Plenty to talk about. Of course, last night, game 1. Florida Panthers at Madison Square Garden against the New York Rangers, the President's Trophy winners. They're trying to deal with a very cumbersome curse, the Rangers, because nobody wins when they win the President's Trophy. Nobody wins the Stanley Cup 10 years in a row. I believe it is 10 years in a row. The President's Trophy winner has not made it out of the second round.
They've made it the furthest since the Blackhawks of 2013, who happened to be the last President Trophy winner to win
the Stanley Cup.
Yes.
Yeah.
They also were the last to do what the Rangers have done this year.
Okay. So we have the Rangers trying to beat a little bit of a Rachel Nichols-like curse. And wow, they got beaten like a drum in this game last night. They could not get a shot on net. Bobrovsky, what he did face, he managed to stop. He did face a couple of point-blank breakaway shots. Yep. One he got lucky on, and that would have changed seriously the dynamic, the complexion of the game, had the Rangers been able to tie it up at 1 apiece. But a shot goes off the post on a breakaway after Bobrovsky was beaten. Bobrovsky kind of threw his hands up on that one and just said, go ahead, hit me. And internet totally down. So no trivia today. Internet at Gurggles' location totally down. No trivia today. So we'll just take this theme and keep embellishing it, Lubie, as the man that you wanted to see put on a rubber raft and pushed into the Florida Straits just a couple of short years ago. In fact, even last year, that this guy wasn't even starting for like a journeyman backup goalie. Yep. Who is he even in the NHL anymore? The guy that was the backup sensation last year? I don't even remember his name. Do you?
The guy that got them into the playoffs and then in that first round played really well, and then he got hurt or he got shelled. So Bob came out and actually played well, guiding him to the cup, and he's played well this year. But the one thing I've always said is a problem with Bob is he's going to allow a goal or two. He's as good as he is. He doesn't stand on his head. He doesn't do the things that the great goalies do, where if you're not getting goals, you need to score at least 2 because he's not going to win 1-0. Well, he shut me up yesterday. He played out of his fucking mind.
Well, and he wasn't under a lot of pressure. It wasn't
it.
constant. The Rangers had like 9 shots, I think, midway or
Like
deep into the second period. You're looking, going, is that total correct? That can't be right, can it?
Yes.
They had a few moments there where they were putting some pressure on the Panthers offensively, but unfortunately for Ranger fans, they weren't able to do shit.
Yep.
And the Panthers, you would have to say, got a little lucky with the 2 goals that they got earlier in the game. Of course, they get an empty netter to finish it out at 3-0. But pivotal game 2 coming up tomorrow night. Pivotal game 2, because if you're the Rangers and you lose, you have to figure that you're probably out of this series. Although, as we've said many times, you have to put the parenthetical qualifier in there. Well, this is the NHL after all.
Yeah, I mean,
and any fucking thing can happen, but I don't know that it does here, because if you were looking at the game last night, you would have to say that regardless of the outcome and the score, that the Panthers dictated the pace in that game, and were in control of that game virtually throughout, as the Rangers just weren't able to raise a gallop there. All of the special teams accolades that had gone to the Rangers, not really applicable. They weren't able to capitalize. They only had, a couple of power plays in that game, the Rangers? They weren't calling a lot of penalties.
They had 2, and the Panthers had 3, I think. They let them play. They didn't. I mean, neither team got a lot.
Yeah. Good game, though, all the way. And we thought it was going to be relatively balanced between the 2 teams. We'll see if the Rangers can bounce back. I mentioned this earlier this morning on our morning briefing show. I was thumbing through the New York Post to see if any Ranger fans had jumped in front of a train at Penn Station after the game, but nothing. No serious injuries to the fans afterwards. Now, you're taking your life in your hands if you're jumping on a train in New York City these days anyway. But nothing of any kind of a treacherous or catastrophic nature took place in that regard, because the fans were rendered to the point where you would have thought, did they play that at some time in the arena there, Madison Square Garden? I know they were very popular there when they did concerts, Simon and Garfunkel. Did they play? That's the sounds of silence.
It was super quiet. I loved it. It was great.
Oh, man. All night long, all you saw were shots of the crowd, and guys have their face in their hands, and they're putting towels around their neck, and they're thinking about strangling themselves, embalming fluid being served at the concession stands. You would have thought that they banned pizza sales in all of New York City, the way that the crowd was reacting last night at Madison Square Garden. But one game does not necessarily a series make, but I consider game 1 is about as pivotal to me as any game in a series, right? Game 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, pivotal. Obviously, game 7 is the ultimate in terms of being pivotal, because it's either win or go home. But, I think that the game 1 winner establishes an awful lot, especially if it's the visiting team, and now puts a tremendous amount of pressure, you would think, to win this second game on Friday night. And does that not enter right into the definition of what would be a pivotal game? You lose this game, you're down 0-2. You have to win 4 out of 5, with 3 of those games potentially being on the Panthers' home ice. Lavalette sayonara, my friend. I think that's it. The first game in the Western Conference gets underway tonight, and that would be Edmonton and the Dallas Stars. I don't know that that's a series that is attracting a lot of attention here. You might want to pay attention to it if you're a Panther fan, or even just a fan of a local team doing well, because they're going to face one of these teams if they make it through the Rangers for the Stanley Cup Final. So you want to get a little bit of a fix on what they're going to be facing. I think in Edmonton they're facing a wide open, wild, high-scoring team.
Yes,
that doesn't necessarily play a ton of defense, and you would think. I don't know. I don't know enough about the Stars, even though I've watched several of their games. I haven't watched games in their entirety, or stayed with it long enough to tell you exactly what it is that they do. They have good goaltending working right now, but I would think that whoever emerges from this Eastern Conference probably has an edge over either of the teams that come out of the West in the NHL. The exact reverse of what you would anticipate in the NBA, where the Pacers and the Celtics do it again tonight. And, of course, interesting game last night. Dallas, I didn't watch all of it. I don't know. Did you find yourself watching it? I mean, I was trying to pay attention to the Panther game, but keep an eye on the Minnesota game against the Dallas Mavericks, because I had just figured, okay, good. Minnesota is now my team to win the NBA championship.
Yes.
And they go out there and they fucking lose. What do you think, Lubie?
It was, I was fixed on the Panthers. I had that game up. It was close, so I was like, okay, when the Panther game is over, I'll watch that. And so I watched the end, and I was just shocked that the Mavs were sort of in control of a lot of it. I understand how good Kyrie and Luka are together. It's working this year in a way it didn't work last year. I get that. But then I look at the two rosters, and I'm like, Minnesota should win this handily to me. Like, it just feels like they have the better overall team. But late in these games, Luka and Kyrie just find a way. And it's interesting to see if they can do that for an entire series. Anthony Edwards, Karl-Anthony Towns, Gobert played okay, but they didn't play great. And Luka had a great second half, and Kyrie had a great first half. And that sort of feels like what the Mavs do. One of them picks one of the halves, the other picks the other half. They dominate, and they find a way to win with 70 to 75% of the games. And that's why they're sitting here up 1-0. I still lean Timberwolves to win this series in probably 6. But the way that game got closed out at home for a young team is not great for Minnesota.
Well, and all of a sudden, too, as we talked about with the idea of every game being pivotal, you're going to find yourself sort of fortunate to be 2-2 coming out of Dallas. Yes. If you're Minnesota, you would then it would be imperative that you win game 2 in Minnesota, and then you still have to split the 2 games in Dallas to make it a best of 3 with you regaining home court advantage. So I think they definitely put Minnesota in a very compromising position, even though a lot of people just shrug off game 1 as if it was nothing, which is what the bookmakers are doing in the Indiana Celtics series, Lubie. What the hell is that?
I look
9 points with how could you possibly look at what happened in game 1 and not assume that it was a very generous offering when they're giving you 9 points if you take the Pacers in game number 2, a game where in the first couple of series the Celtics not only fell apart, but almost in shocking fashion ended up losing to 2 teams that literally had nothing to battle them with in the Miami Heat and then the Cleveland Cavaliers. Incredible. And the Pacers, who, as you said, I mean, you're absolutely right. They did everything woulda, coulda, shoulda, as we were talking about. They did everything but win the game.
Yes. Look, I get this. I still think the Celtics win the series. They should win the series, all that. But where it was a 5-game, maybe a 6-game series, to me, it feels like I don't know what I saw that they didn't. It's not like the Pacers played amazing. Yeah, they shot well, but they shoot well in every game. They literally set the fucking playoff record to close out the Knicks in New York. Like
67% from the field in that game. And it was not just layups and dunks.
That's what they do. They are centered around playing really good offense. The difference is they're now playing better defense. Their defense is actually ramped up in a way we didn't see in the regular season. They have a really good coach. They gave away that game. Like they literally had 15 to 16 turnovers, and like 13 were stupid ones. It wasn't like the Celtics stifling defense. It was guys dribbling the ball off their foot. It was a guy dribbling it in, falling down. It was a guy literally putting himself into the corner by the fucking end, the base, the out of bounds line and the half court line for no reason. The defender was giving him space. Like it was everything. They was rushing a pass in with a lead with 10 seconds left and a timeout in your pocket. Like they did everything wrong and they still should have won that game. So to me, I don't understand how you can do anything but go, this may be a fucking series. But the bookies are doubling down on, oh, well, that was their chance. It's like, to do what? It wasn't like the Celtics did anything horrible. The Celtics played their game. Tatum played well. Brown played well. The other guys weren't. Horford was actually going inside, which he hasn't done in like 5 years.
Horford was as good as he's been in any game.
Yeah, the Celtics. It wasn't like the Celtics were sloppy and they played really badly. I think that's ridiculous. It wasn't.
I was shocked to see it. I mean, I know they had to give him a generous allotment of points to get people to bet the Pacers. But you were thinking, what, 5.5, 6.5, maybe?
Like people haven't watched the Pacers. Like this is the Pacers. They're young,
and it still would be tempting to take them.
Like people, I guess, haven't watched them really at all, and they're like, "Oh wow, you can't come back from that." Yes, they can. Did you watch the Knicks series? They lost by 30 in a game. They won the next 2.
Yes,
like, they're 12. Like this is my problem with the Pacers is they gonna shit themselves because they're young, but then they also fucking forget about it because they're young. Like it's like people don't watch. They watch the Celtics, they watch the Knicks, they watch the Lakers, they watch the Warriors. There's other teams in the goddamn fucking league. Like at this point, the Pacers have done this time and this is what they literally do. It's why people like me don't trust them. But it doesn't mean they're now going to go, fuck, we're done. No, it's the opposite.
I would think just the opposite.
Yeah, they're going to, oh, fuck, we sucked in that game. The refs literally were on their bench wearing a Celtics fucking jersey.
But even with all that, I mean, look, you had
Halliburton
with that ridiculous turnover where he dribbles the ball and it just goes off his hand and out of bounds. Doesn't hit anything, no body part. He wasn't under any immense pressure, just rushing things. And that's with 20 seconds to go. And then they still find themselves in what would seem to be an insurmountable position in terms of leading and having all the advantages in the dynamics of the end game. They're up 3 with the ball, 10 seconds to go. The first couple of guys that cut by the inbound passer were open. If he had just thrown the ball in at that point, you would have had a catch and almost a certain Celtics foul. You're going to the stripe. You make one of the free throws, and you've iced the ball game.
Look, I get the idea. Like, we've seen that in sports when a team puts everything into it and falls short.
Yeah.
They just... it's over for them. That's not what happened in this game. It was the actual opposite. They had everything against them. Everything against them. They should have lost by 30. Like, if I'm a Celtics fan, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, Celtics fan walked away from that game like they're in this weird braggadocious way because everyone in the East got hurt that they feel like they're invincible. It's the opposite, guys. Like, you're playing bad. Like, I don't understand what you're seeing that no one else is seeing. Like, the Pacers are young. The Pacers shouldn't have been in that game. That was game 1 in TD Garden, in Boston, with the Ghost, with the Red. It was literally 23-3. Like, the Pacers had everything against them, and they should have fucking won. Like, how do you take anything but,
Lubie, you're going to have to go to the bank today.
It's just funny.
And make a substantial withdrawal and go right to the Hard Rock or someplace. Maybe our friends bet online.
I think that's a joke of a spread. I think that's the spread of people not watching the Indiana Pacers at all these playoffs. This is literally what they do. They are a young team that shouldn't be there, and they don't even know better. Like, that's what it is. With a real coach that knows what the fuck he's doing, that they should have lost the game by 30 points. Like,
well, you're kind of the way, and you would think that this was the logic, and it's almost impossible to put a number on and quantify, but people are kind of, if they're buying into this, they should be overwhelmingly deflated after losing that game. If anything, they should be disgusted after losing that game and emboldened by the idea that, as you said, if it wasn't for the large discrepancy in free throws, and then 2 just absolutely atrocious plays, plus they got off to an 12-0 start in the game, and at that point, they were playing, never mind defense, they were playing Red Sea. Because the 12-0 was coming on a lot of easy layups that the Celtics were getting. And to bang away and get back into a tie at halftime and then look like you had the game in the bag. If anything, you would think that would have been heartening for the Indiana Pacers. And they would say, hey, listen, we're not leaving here without getting one of these games.
Look, you thought they should have won game 5.
But I'll probably lose by 25 tonight. Right?
Look, who knows? It's fucking sports. Again, I'm not saying the Celtics suck. The Celtics have the 2 best players in the series. I'm not... What I'm saying is they're not playing to the level people are acting like they're playing. Like, they're not just dominating teams. Yes, they've gotten through both series in 5 because they played garbage. Like, the Cleveland Cavaliers are a bunch of 12-year-olds, and they pushed them in those games.
Well, and they were missing their 3 top guys.
The last 2 games, they didn't have their best player.
Yes. The only chance they had was for Donovan Mitchell to be beyond brilliant.
And the last game was still a dogfight. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't know what people are like. They talk about the Celtics in a way that the Celtics aren't playing. They're here. They're going to win this series. They should be in the finals. They should be the favorite to win the finals. But they're not killing people. Like, they're fucking around in these games. And the Pacers are not the team you fuck around with. Ask the Knicks.
Yeah, like, and they're not that much better, as you're saying, than the other teams in the East. Even though they had, the best record, but went with the composition of their team and having both Brown and Tatum. Most teams only have 1 guy of that caliber, and then a bunch of complementary players. I'm with you. I don't see where the Celtics are an unbeatable commodity here. And are we making a big mistake here, or is this the most gracious gift from the gods of gambling in the history of wagering, Lubie? 9 points on the Pacers in Game 2 tonight against the Celtics in a spot where the Pacers, by all rights, should be up 1-0. I would be more inclined to see a Celtic beatdown if they were down 1-0 in the series than I am based on what we saw last night or 2 nights ago.
Look, these playoffs have been fucking weird.
How wrong are we? Do you have the feeling that we're just making statements here and we're dead fucking wrong? I mean, look, how wrong could we be?
We've seen craziness these playoffs, so I wouldn't put it past the Celtics win by 20. But what I'm saying is that's not what I would expect.
Sure. Oh, I wouldn't either.
The refs can't be that bad again. That was so bad.
Yes, they can. We saw the Knicks and Pacers, and we saw the Knicks and the 76ers.
Yeah, but that's the thing, and I was thinking about that. As much as I was talking all
when
that
Adam
shit,
Silver has his mind on something happening, it's happening.
Yeah, but even the end of those games, the Pacers would have 18 free throws, 19 free throws. Like the actual free throw disparity was bad early. They would always catch up late. The fact that by the end of that game, it was 23-3, 23-3. They can't do that again. Like that was so blatant that you will have people like me not watching this. Like if it's like that again, I don't care I'm not going to watch. Like if you're telling me it's Donaghy-esque, it's not worth watching. So they can't do that again. They are going to have to get a little bit more respect. They have to, because they go to the basket a lot. And the fact that they were coming up empty, and there was literally
and also it made a difference at the end of the game too. Because there were no fouls called on the Celtics during the ball game, and so they weren't going to the stripe there at the end of the game.
Exactly.
So and you know that made a big difference. You know, they weren't in the bonus, nothing. I mean, they were getting no free throws because nothing was being called on the Celtics the entire game. Because you know what, I've watched the Celtics all year. They are the cleanest team in the league. They don't foul anybody.
They never. They're an aggressive, really good defensive team. So of course
they play NBA basketball and there's no contact. I mean, the way they manage them. You talk about the athleticism of being able to put this kind of pressure on other teams defensively and never foul.
Yeah,
got to respect that.
Look,
I mean, you got to respect it.
They're gonna lean Celtics.
Yeah,
but I think you have to give the Pacers more respect than you did in game 1.
Pacers can't lose by 6 or 7 tonight, Lubie. Come on.
You can correct stupid turnovers. Just don't stupidly turn over the ball. Like to me, I don't see how we get a repeat of both of those things in this game. And if we don't, if those things change, then it's going to be a tight game. Like the Pacers can score a lot. That's what this team is. So they're always in a game. They got down 12-0. It felt the game was over. Blink of an eye, they were right in.
I was ready to send out the text to my buddy Jack, who had the Pacers money line for 3.5 times. He's going to pick up 3,500 if they win this game. That was rude of me, though, Lubie. I feel bad. I actually apologized to the man yesterday because are you obligated as a friend of a degenerate and a fellow degenerate? Is it part of the Degenerate Brethren Code that a guy calls you at like midnight? Right now, we have the built-in excuse because people know what we do, Lubie, that we get up early and there's a strong likelihood we're already passed out asleep. By the time you get around to 12 o'clock, 100%. You're getting up at 6 in the fucking morning, okay? Mm-hmm. So on a good night, maybe you're getting 5 hours sleep because you're going to wake up at some time in panic and go, oh, shit, I was supposed to be up. And then you realize it's only 3 o'clock.
Animals that are annoying. So I wish I got to sleep till 6. I haven't slept till 6.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, and back in the day, how did we ever do that? How did I get up at 4:30 in the morning, Lubie?
Up at 4 every day.
All of those years. My God. What an ugly concept that was. But yeah, I mean, you're thinking, you know, how is it possible that you know the call is coming, and the guy's on the money line. He just got fucked completely. Are you obligated to pick up the phone and answer that call?
Look,
and just listen to the guy, you know, vent for like 20 minutes, and you're going, yeah, the refs, they fucked you. Oh yeah, that out of bounds play. Oh Jesus, Carlisle.
If it was any other time of the day, I actually agree with the Paulie man when he said yesterday.
Yeah,
you have to. But the fact that it was late as fuck, like I wouldn't have.
It wasn't really that bad. It was 11 o'clock.
I wouldn't have.
So you know, if you pick up the phone, you're going to be on the phone for at least a half hour, even if you say nothing. Just just agree with the guy. Can you believe this?
You know,
I feel badly about that, though. Is there an obligation on the part of the degenerate brethren to be there to pacify somebody, even if you're just serving as some quasi shrink that was going to sit there and listen? You went to marriage counseling, Lubie, and you say it worked.
We would still do it if it wasn't fucking insanely expensive. I appreciated it. It's the one place she listened. Like, she doesn't listen to fucking me. She listens to the therapist.
Isn't that great when the counselor, the shrink agrees with you?
Yes, it's the best. Because she would talk
really, you want to open your mind to some new things there, Shirley. And you're like beaming, and then she looks at you with that dagger look and says, you know what, Mike, go fuck yourself.
See, that's the one thing I'll give her. She's like that in every day. In the therapy, because she actually has a psychology degree, she actually respects it. Okay. So when our guy would say some shit, like she would talk all this shit and I would just shake my head, listen. And then I would say I would talk for like a sentence and he would go, you know, Shirley, Mike has a point. And I would go, oh, thank God. And then she would go, really? he would
stunned
sound for like
disbelief.
20
You had a
minutes.
point.
And exactly. And she would be like, I didn't see it that way. I'm like, you never see. I'm like, exactly. Thank you, sir, for agreeing with me.
Yeah.
So like, yes, that's why I enjoyed it, because it was a place where both of us felt heard, being heard. I actually enjoy, if you find the right person, it's not bad. The therapy thing.
I obviously was not in there with the right person. Literally. I mean, you used to have these just outrageous fights on the way home. It was the worst thing possible, right? You leave the place, you thank the person, and then as soon as you get in the car, it starts. All right, let's bring on a guy who probably never. I mean, this guy was in need of no counseling whatsoever. I mean, he is the counselor in these kind of situations. We have the great one himself, Mr. Tony Segreto.
I'm listening to you guys, and I'm dying here. This is hysterical. This is a comedy routine right here.
Well, I mean, it's true. The truth is obviously more comical than fiction. We couldn't make this up.
Lubie, how can you? This man is incorrigible.
He can hear me. I know that. I'm saying
Lubie is begging you to bet on the Pacers tonight. What are you talking about?
And that's what's funny is I'm not even Mr. Pacer. I've been the one against him on all playoffs. It's just
you would think he was Rick Smits himself. Yeah.
I don't know. To assume they're going to fold the tent. I don't know. I don't see it. I guess we'll have to see.
How are you, Tony Segreto? You seem in very good spirits today, my friend.
I'm fine. I'm dandy. I'm ready to go.
Okay. All right. We're going to come back a little old school with Tony Segreto. It's brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants, where I've been trying to make these arrangements to get out there to the one in Margate or Coconut Creek. With the family. I haven't been able to put that together yet. We had to scratch the last time. We had it all set up, but looking forward to it because it's true. Everybody
loves it.
Texas Roadhouse. My grandkids are both very strange eaters. Right? No, they are. And my son was also when he was a kid. It's amazing how he's gone Anthony Bourdain now, where he'll eat anything. I mean, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'll eat the shells with the snails. I don't care. He'll eat anything. And it's great. It has tremendous versatile taste. But he would only eat like a couple of things when he was a kid, and that's the way it's been. I don't know. Have you found this, Tony, in raising children, that they have some very strange eating habits?
Yeah, my daughter doesn't eat meat. My son is a carnivore. He just eats everything.
Oh, yeah? Okay. But yeah, I mean, as kids, Liam, my older grandson, he's expanded a little bit, but for a long time, he would only eat rice and soy sauce. That was it. I thought he was Chinese. I really did. Not even a Chinese eat like that. That's
all the little kid things. Like it's usually mac and cheese.
Soy sauce, man.
I love the soy sauce.
Imagine soy sauce. It's hard. Got to be encased in salt. It's got to be some ugliness. And my younger grandson, Christian, he has a big sweet tooth, giant sweet tooth. But other than that, he's not that interested in a lot of different stuff. So, but at Texas Roadhouse, they love it. They absolutely love it. There's something for everybody there. It's fantastic.
There's something for everybody, including the rolls.
Yeah. You can't emphasize that enough, Tony, because you sold more rolls for Texas Roadhouse, I think. Now they come free, so that's the thing. They weren't making any money off your promotion.
The best. And let's not forget, they package their peanuts now.
So it's clutch.
A couple.
I love that, man. It's like getting a bag of Bazzinis at Shea. Fantastic.
A couple of bags home. You sit in the back. We sit on the water here. You sit in the back. You eat peanuts and you toss them out, and you're good to go.
It's holy Jimmy Carter too. I mean, those are some dynamite peanuts, man. There's something about it. No, they do a great job. Even without the peanuts and the bread, man. I mean, the place is still just such a bargain.
It's fun, and it's
they're the best middle of the road. You're always going to walk away feeling good about it.
Yes,
and you go in there hungry, you can eat. You go in there not so hungry, you can have light fare. Their drinks are out of this world. You can't beat it.
No. It's especially fun when we dine with Ed Garcia, though.
Oh yeah,
he doesn't get any special treatment, but you're going to be treated like a champ. That's for sure. Ed Garcia snaps his fingers. Everybody's running. It's great. All right, we're going to come back with Tony Segreto. A little old school. A lot to discuss here on the show. And we'll be with Tony till 9 o'clock, so stick with us. Tony Segreto, old school, in a moment. Now that.
The time.
8:37.
Here, let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Texas Roadhouse.
Tell me, doctor.
All right, welcome back to the show. Tony Segreto with us, going old school with Tony every Wednesday. We usually do it, but had to flip things around a little bit. So here we are on a Thursday with Tony, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. How long have you been dealing with this, Tony? I mean, how many years was it with NBC? 40 something.
Yeah.
For the longest time, right? I mean, and you've been involved in a lot of talk shows, either as a host, a guest, and I was doing this for probably the better part of the 40 some odd years that I've been living here in South Florida. And I don't think it's nearly as intense as it used to be. It seems like this particular aspect of sports talk has settled down. But the whole thing about New York versus the displaced New Yorkers in South Florida and the fans and where their allegiance should be. How many hours of discussion did you spend on that? And were you inclined, Tony? You're too nice of a guy to do this. And I really don't care who you root for. I mean, not you personally, but anybody. If you're a sports fan, root for whoever the hell you want. Who am I to tell you what you should do? But it was not uncommon for, some guy like Hank to get on the air and go, you know what? Go back to fucking New York. It was like a real, it would get under people's skin here that were on the air, this whole New York versus South Florida argument. Where did you stand on all of that?
I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I was brought up a New York fan.
Me too.
New York fan. And I'm having a hard time rooting interest. There's a part of me that's rooting for the Panthers, and there's a part of me that roots for the Rangers, and I can't get away from it. I don't know. The discussion about this sort of thing goes nowhere. I mean, you got
typical sports talk fodder, though.
It's fodder. It's
who you should be rooting for. Like we should tell people.
Yeah, it's perfect for sports talk.
Yeah.
Who are you rooting for? Boom. Your phones will light up. Your everything will light up, and it's just not. Who cares?
I don't know that it's nearly as strong. Now, this is going back like 30 years in the early 90s when the Heat and the Knicks were meeting. And literally, Tony, you could go on the air. We would have like 8 lines that were available to talk sports. You could come on the air at 6:05 in the morning, right after the sports update, and say, Heat, Knicks, here are the numbers.
Yeah,
and you'd be flooded with calls the whole day, and it seemed like every other one was one of the opposing team's fans. And the first guy said, "Hey, you know what? The Knicks are going to bury the fucking Heat. The Heat suck, and this, that." And then the next call would be, "You know what? Screw you. Go back, take your accent back to New York. Go get hit by a bus." There was a lot of hostility instilled in all of this. Yeah,
take your accent back.
Yeah, to get in a car and point it north. People were insulted by the idea that that this rivalry is going on, and I would say it was somewhat even Steven because of the overwhelming presence of New York fans here in South Florida. But I don't feel that. Maybe I'm just out of touch, but I don't feel that going on with this Panther Ranger series.
No, it's not the same thing.
There are a lot of guys like you, that say, "Hey, I used to be a Ranger fan, so I'm a little bit torn on this thing."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think also the summer vacationers, they're gone.
Oh,
They're
yeah. The New
gone.
York people are back. I see all the transport vehicles. They're all on A1A. Oh, really? I think everybody that lives in New York during the summertime lives right here in Lauderdale by the Sea.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Like you'll see 100 cars being towed up to New York every day. It's true.
oh well.
All right, so yeah, that aspect doesn't really seem to be as much in play as it used to be. I would
No, not.
imagine, it would have been great 30 years ago because you could have been doing talk radio or whatever,
Oh,
and all you would have to do is mention like Ron Gilbert, and the next thing you know,
boom, lit
yeah,
up.
I mean, it would spark outrage from the
Yeah.
people, one side or the other. All right, did you watch this thing last night? Because it was very impressive. I'm going to break into my in-depth hockey knowledge and say, and a couple of people mentioned this on the chat line that we have working, that the Panthers forechecking, which was mentioned during the game a couple of times by the broadcasters that were doing it. Was it Sean McDonough that was doing this game?
Yes.
He does a nice understated
He's
job
good.
on hockey.
He's
He
good.
really does.
He does. He's one of the good play-by-play guys.
Yes, and seems like a real gentleman also. But yeah, they were making mention of it that the Panthers their aggressive forechecking really had the Rangers kind of stymied, and they weren't getting any shots on goal. They did get a couple of point blank breakaway shots, but other than that, they really had nothing going.
No shots on goal. That was the key. What were their shots on goal?
Well, they ended up with like 20 something. Actually, it was pretty close.
In the third period, they started barraging them, but like in the second period, I think they had 9. Like in the
they had
late
9 late in the second period. You're right.
Like
It
20
was
something.
great. It was great forechecking. It's
Listen to us talking about forechecking here on the show.
I don't know, but I know they were aggressive.
Holy Johnny Busick.
I know
what
the
are we
Panthers
talking
were
about?
not just letting them skate in like they used to. There's a clear difference in this team than in years past, where they would let teams work in the offensive side of the end of the ice, and they have not done that. I mean, especially last night, they were not letting the Rangers get anything going. It was, and they were.
Watch what you say.
Yeah, look, things change, and then it's not a boasting. It's what we saw last night. Like it was one shot and done. And the announcers actually said they're going to have to start working more. Ray Ferraro, I guess, was the other guy. He's like, this one shot and done stuff's not going to get it done. And it didn't. And that held true the whole game. So we'll see what happens in game 2. But it was an impressive performance. And Bobrovsky didn't face a lot of action, but what he faced, he was very clean.
Yeah.
He wasn't allowing rebounds. He was getting after it. And it was nice to see them on offense really control the game. I mean, they kept the puck in their offensive zone a lot. And it was really nice to see.
Yeah. I have to tell you, my wife walks by the TV last night and she says, the playoffs are still going?
Just getting started.
Always playoffs. I'm like, it's not always playoffs. She's like, it was playoffs in April. I'm like, yeah. She's like, it's gonna be playoffs in June. I'm like, yeah. She's like, it's always playoffs. I'm like, not always.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane. Yeah, when you think about it, and there's still a long way to go.
It is insane. Hey,
but great job there, Paul Maurice, the French Joe Philbin. As we say, we couldn't have been any more wrong about this guy. Pretty good strategy. I mean, if you wanted to suppress the Rangers, I've been following the Rangers during the season because of my subscription there to the New York Post. You can't miss it, and they do a wonderful job, especially setting up these games. Now, my Bulldog edition doesn't have the result of last night's game, and I was thumbing through it, Tony. I was saying earlier, trying to see if anybody jumped in front of a train among the Ranger fans last night. Because you're right there at Penn Station. I mean, it doesn't matter. Train to Philadelphia could hit you, subway, whatever you want. You could take your choice. That wasn't happening, and I'm with you. The series is far from decided, but what we saw last night, a brilliant strategy on the part. Either that or the Rangers were just as flat as they possibly could have been. It wasn't like you could attribute it to rust. I mean, they clinched their series before the Panthers did, but it wasn't an inordinate amount of time that they were off. And I mean, the Panthers just really had an answer for virtually everything that they did, with the exception of those 2 breakaways, which I guess they did have the answer. One was the post, and the other was Bobrovsky.
The key for the Panthers now is to study that film. All joking aside, study the film and come up with something different this time, because if they can take a 2-0 lead, they'll be in the driver's seat, and then it'll come back home. And the second game to me is a pivotal game of a series.
See, I think the first game is too. Well,
I
you
think
know
they
our
all-
theory. All games are pivotal, Tony. Look at the position the Rangers are in by losing game one.
Oh yeah,
So how is that not pivotal in terms of the outcome of the series?
yeah.
You lose the first game at home. Now, the home ice advantage, we've seen this in the playoffs throughout the history, I guess, of the NHL. It isn't as distinctive as it is in basketball, but was that not a pivotal loss for the Minnesota
Oh.
Timberwolves last night as
Pivotal.
they lose game one at home?
Pivotal.
Pivotal. Everything's pivotal, Tony. It's all pivotal. We're going to pivot into this. The baskets. We're trying to figure this out, Tony. What did you see that what would convince us otherwise? That getting 9 points tonight with the Indiana Pacers. Now you know what's going to happen. Pacers are going to lose by 30 and never be in this game. But how could they be getting 9 points from the odds makers after what we saw in game one?
I don't know. You got me, because they were just pummeled in game one, and the Celtics, the what's the name? Draymond Green.
Green,
Yeah.
Hits the three from above the key, and just nonchalantly walks back.
Oh, you're talking about Jaylen Brown. Yeah.
Oh,
I
Brown.
thought you were talking about something Draymond Green said
corner,
on
that's
TNT, which
Jaylen Brown.
yeah.
And he just walks gently back, and that's, to me, that's the personality of the Celtics. And how can they get 9 points? I don't get it.
The Pacers, Lubie with a brilliant illustration of how the Pacers did everything but win the game. They really did. You remember this guy from the Chicago Sun-Times, don't you? You probably saw him around the track, Dave Feldman.
Yeah.
Who was a big-time writer there. He was a columnist for the Sun-Times and very popular in Chicago. This is going back a ways. And he would write some books about horse racing especially. And the most famous of which was a book called Shoulda, Woulda, Coulda, which is... how often do you hear this? It's almost like a sports cliche. Yeah, he should have done this, could have done that, would have, yeah. And that was the story of that Pacers game. They should have, would have, could have won the game by all rights. I mean, you can't lose from that position if you just examine the dynamic. You have the ball, you have a 3-point lead, and you're inbounding the ball. And if you can get a guy to catch an inbounds pass, the Celtics have no choice but to go ahead and foul you and put you at the stripe to clinch the game.
They don't do it.
And then they still need 3 points, even though they get the ball back. And where do you stand on that strategy? Because it seems like nobody ever does it, where you're up by 3, small amount of time left in a game, like a fraction of a minute or whatever, 10 seconds in this case. Do you foul a guy and put him on the stripe to take 2 shots? Rather than give the team an opportunity to maybe hoist a 3. And obviously it's in the hands of the gods of gambling and luck. I mean, that Jaylen Brown shot managed to swish through, but it just as easily could have been a brick. So
yeah.
Do you want to take that chance that somebody's going to hoist one up there from 3-point range and put you in overtime? Or would you rather just foul the guy and put him on the stripe?
Foul the guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't see that executed that often. That's the way everybody always talks about it, and nobody ever does it.
Yep. They let him shoot it. Yep, which is stupid to me.
It's stupid.
Shrink the time. Like make them have to make both free throws, then make them foul you, then make them have to now use a timeout if they have one to take it half court with now 6 seconds left. And then I would foul again. Hopefully it's a 3-point game, and then you foul again. I would not just let that, because that's what happens. They're NBA guys. If they have any room, they have a really good shot of making it. I never understand that strategy of not just fouling the minute they catch the ball.
Yeah. A shout out to my daughter.
Oh yeah, what's happening? Going to the Olympics for coverage?
Oh yeah, she's going to the Olympics. But
nice.
She along with
how long is she going to be there in Paris? That's a pretty good gig. Or is she staying here in New York?
No, she's going to Paris.
Okay.
She's going to Paris. She stays 4 weeks. 4 weeks.
Oh yeah, nice.
That's for her. That's amazing.
But what's today? Thursday.
Yes.
Tuesday night, they give out sports Emmys, and she and her team won for what would you fight for? For the NBC, for the Notre Dame. What would you fight for? Their like 6-minute piece.
Okay.
Game, and I just want to say that I'm very proud of her.
That's amazing. Good
How
for
about
her.
that? Yeah, the Segretos
fantastic.
continue the tradition of winning sports Emmys and
And
Emmy
she and her
awards.
team, she's going to get it. She's going to get it about 2 months, and I'll put the picture on the air when I get it.
Yeah, you have to.
Very
That's
good,
amazing.
man.
Sure.
Tony Segreto,
Oh, cool.
man.
She
Not
won.
only a talent in his own right, but spinning off talent with
Yes.
keen insight into what it takes to actually put together a good broadcast. All right, Tony. So you're okay with everything that happened last night. So was
Yeah.
I. It couldn't have been
Yeah.
better. I thought the Panthers would win it in 6. Can you put in perspective after your years here in South Florida, and we know what championships mean, but it's been a long time. Been a long time. We had the LeBron thing, and I think people were somewhat disappointed in that he wasn't able to go not 3, not 4, not 5, but we did get the 2 titles there. We had one previously. Tremendous job by Dwayne Wade and company with that Shaq team. What was that, 2006? We've had a World Series, which seemed as improbable as anything because I was thinking about this.
I think of Craig Counsell. Just think of Craig Counsell running down third and bouncing on home plate.
Yeah, no, that was great, man. I was right there. And Game 7, tremendous. And, of course, they would come back and win it probably in 2003 after stripping the team down to nothingness. But I was thinking this, is this, with the 2 championships notwithstanding, is this not the worst run franchise maybe in all of American sports, the Miami Marlins?
Oh,
and then what would it mean to get a Stanley Cup here? I mean, does it have the same kind of impact, you think, Tony, that it might have maybe years ago? Has the South Florida sports community kind of fractured itself off to where, I don't know that it doesn't have the same impact? I mean, what would the Stanley Cup mean if the Florida Panthers were able to win it?
I think the Stanley Cup
to South Florida.
To South Florida, I think it would mean like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be cool. I don't know what we'll do.
I just don't know what the temperature is.
I mean, would it be a springboard for more hysteria about hockey and some kind of foundation that they could build off to create more fans? Do they need more fans here? What do you think? I mean, where do they stand? They still seem to be. I don't know. I mean, you would have to say the Marlins are now the 4th consideration among the pro teams here.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. The Marlins. You got.
You would put the Panthers. I mean, the attention that they gather for being now a well-run franchise.
The Marlins at the very end between NSU soccer, NSU basketball.
I tuned in the game the other night against the Brewers. Literally, there were like 6 people there.
6 people.
Oh, it's bad. No, they're not getting even hundreds.
It's crazy, huh? I mean, how do you sustain a franchise like that? And then on top of that, I mean, could it be the worst run franchise? I know they're here and we complain about them. Who's running any kind of a worse fashion? Even the A's are finally getting out of Oakland.
No, I can't think of one time where I've opened the newspaper to look where the Marlins were in the standings.
I look every day because we got the under.
Well,
they're playing 333 baseball now. They're 17 and 34 or something like that.
That's terrible.
Yeah,
that's just terrible. And baseball down here used to be really, at the University of Miami, and they used to be really big. And then it just, the Marlins could have resurrected the game here, but instead they buried it.
Wow.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, nobody gives a flying one about the franchise. They're talking about trading off their top starters in the rotation now because, again, stories have surfaced about Luzardo. Our man Jim Sarney alluding to that being.
They start all over. They'll start all over again.
Yeah, to accomplish what though? I mean, I don't know. Are you buying into this Peter Bendix guy? He seems to be a bit strange. He really does look like Jonah Hill. In Billy Ball, he does. You would swear he was Jonah Hill portraying a general manager or a guy that's in charge of personnel.
I don't get it. I could care less. Care less.
See, I wish they were more of a presence. I'm a big baseball fan.
I wish they were more of a presence too. But spring training is the suitors of spring, and you feel good about it, and you go to the games, whatever. And 10 games into the season, you're going, what did I even try? Why did I even look at this team? Why did I even, I'm a Yankee fan, tried and blue. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and they're having a good year. Although, how do you feel about this, Tony? There's a lot of conversation being made about the fact that, and our good friend Joe Casala just put up a brilliant dissertation on social media about the Yankees and the annual crying by Al Steinbrenner about the payroll, which he doesn't mention that the franchise is worth $7 billion now.
Yeah.
That his old man bought it for $10 million. Wasn't that the price? $10 million?
The price was $10 million. and
no, it's centuries ago. I mean, it was in the 70s.
George is running this from heaven, I swear, because his pocketbook was shrinking, but it was big. He was an accordion, and he'd shell out the big bucks for the great ball players, and the minimum guys would get minimum pay. So it was classic. And Hal Steinbrenner is starting to run the team the same way, and they're showing success.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they got a $305 million payroll.
Yeah, he bitched about it.
He was in the State of the Union address, I guess, that he gives every year. He was saying that it's not sustainable. And then our buddy Joe, who's very analytical and usually right on top of things, says this represented a 5% increase in the outlay of payroll in terms of versus income and the overall amount of capital they're taking in, that it was only a 5% increase in the outlay for payroll of what they were paying like 50 years ago.
50 years ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, what business wouldn't thrive if they only had to increase their payroll over this amount of time by 5%? You'd be in great shape. So this crying is misguided is what he was saying. So enough of it.
Misguided as well.
Misguided. All right, Tony, we got to run, but always a pleasure. What do you have on tap, Tony? We're going to see you tomorrow out there at the stream.
See me tomorrow on the stream, and we'll go at it again.
All right, and everybody, don't forget, visit your Texas Roadhouse restaurant, whatever location you're near.
And Lubie, what do you have to say about Texas Roadhouse?
I could go on for hours about Texas Roadhouse. I just love the fact that the prices, no matter what's going on in the world, always stay the same. And it's great whether you go with kids. It's one of the rare places that you can go with kids and not go, oh shoot, like have to be embarrassed, have to feel weird, have to do math. Like the kids can be whoever they are, and they don't care. And the service is impeccable every time you go. And I love it. So it's one of the rare places on Let's Eat that always gets positive, always. And it's unsolicited. People are always like, oh, I went there, I got this. Oh, and then you get thousands of comments, and it's like the one place that can unify the world is Texas Roadhouse. So
yeah.
Well, and it was the one place, the only guy that was a dissenter was Mayo until he finally went there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mayo's gone twice, 3 times.
On his own.
No, he loves it. But I mean, that was one of those things. We would bring it up, Lubie and I, and they say, "Hey, it's a great place," and he would make a face because it wasn't the Catherine or it wasn't the, Dune or whatever, Carbone, and we would say, "Hey, you know what? There's definitely a need for this type of place.
Yeah.
If more places were like this, the world would be a better place. That's for sure."
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen to that, because the places like the Heritage, all these places that they're pricing themselves out. How many times can you go back there?
Well, that's the thing. Look, they're great and they have a purpose, but you can only go so often. I mean, a place like Roadhouse is made for you to go regularly, which is cool.
Yeah. All right, Tony, always a pleasure, my friend.
I'll see you tomorrow.
We'll catch you tomorrow. Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Lubie. Did we do enough today, you think?
We got through it. Go Cats. And we'll see what happens tonight.
That was good last night. Jeez. I mean, were you expecting total domination? I mean, in a game that essentially was 1-0 for most of the game.
It was a close, and that was my issue with the game was they were really controlling every aspect except the scoreboard. It was like They're like, they're really getting after it. And I'm like, it's 1-0 still. I'm like, that's the fucking annoying part about hockey. Is you can dominate something and in the blink of an eye. And look, they had a couple breakaways where I was like, oh,
Sure.
here we go. God.
Oh, they had chances. It wasn't like they had almost no shots, but they still a couple of times, especially in the third period there, they had a few possessions where they were in their Panthers defensive end for a long period of time.
Yep.
And putting some pressure on, but couldn't connect on anything. They had a lot of pucks going flying. It's amazing, though. Look at the draw on that thing. I mean, imagine this: the goal that really puts the game on ice, if you will,
It was an own goal.
was Lafreniere knocking the puck into his own net.
Yeah,
That was crazy. I did think. I mean, you're saying that was a bogus call to disallow the goal because I mean it was so similar to some of the other shit that we saw where they allowed the goal. But I thought it was interference. I really did.
So then I'm confused because he did skate into the goalie.
He skated in there on his own, and then he sort of got nudged into the goaltender.
He got rocked into the goalie and then fell and was gone before the shot even came. So,
but it wasn't like he was shoved into the paint there. So
he skated himself into the crease, but he didn't. If you know, and they kept saying this, and I'm like, that's wrong. He didn't actually make contact with the goalie until he was shoved.
Yeah.
All the time, guys are in front. So I'm just confused. If you're not allowed to do it,
very inconsistent call. Yeah.
Then don't guys are constantly in the crease, around the crease, in front of the goalie.
You should be able to bear hug the goalie.
I don't
care. That's what they were allowing in the other series. I mean,
the other series were way worse.
For sure.
Were way worse, and they allowed them. This one was less egregious.
You know they want the Rangers in the final. Come on.
I mean, clearly, but
Florida market small. We got Ron DeSantis governing the state. Get the fuck out of here. Nobody wants to see Florida. That's for sure. All right, we got to run. Thanks so much, people, for being with us. Have a great day, everybody. We'll join you tomorrow for our Degenerate Friday edition of the program. Should feature the professor and a big board, so it's going to be a lot of fun. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, Tony Segreto, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks so much for tuning in. Sorry we couldn't bring a Dave Gurggles Gergely today, but that's been an intermittent problem, has it not, over there at Shula's? Internet failure.
That's weird, man.
It used to be cell phone crap out was the enemy of these kind of shows, and now it's internet failure. So we will see you tomorrow, rain or shine here, as they say, as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 9:04.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.